Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for watching. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I made this Hello Kitty themed cake, so let's get right to it. I'm starting out with two 7-inch cakes that I've leveled and cut in half, and I'm going to be filling those with my Swiss meringue buttercream using my small offset spatula. I'm making sure that my buttercream is even, and then once my cake is stacked up, I'm going to be applying a thin crumb coat all around the outside to lock in those crumbs, and then that's going to go in the fridge for about 25 minutes to chill. When you can touch your finger to the buttercream and none of it comes off, it's ready for the final ice. So I'm adding a big dollop of my Swiss meringue buttercream on the top of my cake, and then using my offset spatula and my turntable, I'm just leveling that out so it's nice and smooth. And then with my larger spatula, I'm applying buttercream all around the sides. I'm using my bench scraper to go along the sides to smooth them out. And then all of that buttercream that accumulated on the top of the cake, I'm using my bench scraper to pull that into the middle, just being sure to keep it level so that I don't mess up my nice smooth top. If you find you have some more lumps and bumps remaining, then you can just fix that with your spatula. Now my cake is going back into the fridge to chill, and I'm going to start on my fondant. I have some white marshmallow fondant, and I will link the recipe that I used to make this below. I'm rolling that out on my cornstarch surface, and then I'm going to pick that up with my fondant roller and drape it over my chilled cake. Using my hands and my fondant smoother, I'm just going to push all the air out from the top of my cake, and then working my way down, I'm pulling out the skirt and smoothing down all those pleats until I reach the bottom. I went over the whole thing one more time with my fondant smoother, and then using my pizza cutter, I cut away the excess at the bottom. My cake is 2 tiers, so it's going to need to have some support. I have 4 wooden dowels that I'm spacing out evenly in the bottom tier. I'm marking off where they're flush with the cake and then cutting those down and then just placing them back in. I added a smear of buttercream, and then I added a 5-inch tier on top of that. To start on my decorations, I'm going to make the hot air balloon. Yes, I realize this is the 3rd video I've used a styrofoam ball. I swear this is the last one for a long time. I just really like using them and they work really well, so I figured why not. I have some light pink fondant that I'm rolling out, and I've just rubbed my surface with a little bit of shortening. I drape it over the ball, and then doing my best, I'm just smoothing it down. It can be really tricky to cover round shapes like this in fondant, but it just takes a little bit of patience and you will get there. I flipped it over and gathered all of those seams and pleats towards the very bottom. And then I just trimmed away the excess with my scissors. And you might be thinking, that looks like crap. There's so many seams in it. But once you have it all covered and you just keep rolling it in your hands, the heat from your hands and the shortening does really, really minimize the look of the seams. So it ends up being pretty smooth in the end. After I rolled it in my hands for about 2 minutes, it ended up looking like this. So you can see that there are a couple little faint seams in it, but it was good enough for me. To make the basket portion of the hot air balloon, I have a slightly darker shade of pink that I'm rolling out, and I'm rolling this out quite thick and using a circle cutter to cut out a circle. And then with another strip of that pink fondant, I just eyeballed how high I wanted the basket to be. You can be a little more precise than I am. But I have this strip, and I'm going to wrap it around that circle that I cut out, and then just cutting it down with my X-Acto knife, making a nice seam, and then attaching the 2 ends with a little bit of water. I did add a little bit of Tylose powder to my fondant, and I let this sit overnight to dry completely before I added it to my cake. Once the basket was dry, I attached that to the top of my cake using a little bit of water, and then I have these 2 cake pop sticks, and I'm going to put those into the cake on either side, just pressing through the base of the basket. And these are going to act as the rope that are going to attach to my styrofoam ball. I lightly press the styrofoam ball against the top of those 2 cake pop sticks just to indent where they're going to be sitting. And then I have this wooden skewer that has a pointed end, and I'm using this to kind of bore the holes into my styrofoam ball. Because the cake pop sticks are blunted, it's going to be a lot harder for me to get them in there. So once I have the holes made, then I just inserted my cake pop sticks into the styrofoam ball and then inserted that back into the basket using the holes I had made previously as a guide. For Hello Kitty's face, I have some white fondant that I added a little bit of Tylose powder to. I rolled it into this like pill shape almost and then flattened it against my work surface. I added a little yellow oval shape for her nose and 2 little black ovals for her eyes. And then for her whiskers, I have some black fondant that I'm rolling out really, really thin. And then using my knife, I'm cutting out 6 pieces, and I just let those firm up before I tried to add them to the face. I rolled out 2 little small white balls of fondant, and then using my finger, I pinched one end to a point and then kind of just blunted a little bit. And then using my X-Acto knife, I cut the bottom off and then attached those to the top of her head using a little bit of water. For her bow, I made a very similar shape to her ear, except I didn't cut off the end, and then attached those 2 pieces together. I indented them with my little wooden skewer, and then added a ball of pink fondant into the center of that. I brushed a little bit of shortening on either side of her face. You could also use some water, and then just place down 3 whiskers on either side. I wanted her face to firm up before I tried to add it to the cake, so in the meantime I'm going to start on the decorations that sweep up the front of the cake. So I have all these different shades of pink. I just used, I believe it's called Rose Pink from Wilton food coloring gel, and I added different concentrations to get the different shades. I'm making very simple bows, so I'm rolling out my fondant and then cutting out some strips. And then with each strip, I'm folding them so that they meet in the middle, and then just using my fingers, I'm pinching them together. With a thinner strip of fondant, I'm draping that over the middle and then cutting that down a bit and pressing it together at the back, just pinching it in place. I wanted to make some really small little roses, so rolling out more of my fondant, I'm cutting out some circles using the end of my piping tip, and then with my foam pad and my balling tool, I'm just going along the edges and thinning them out a bit. To make my rose, I have a little ball of fondant that I'm rolling into a teardrop shape, and then with one of my petals, I'm wrapping that around so that it kind of covers the top of my teardrop shape. And then all I'm doing is adding more petals, just overlapping them slightly. You can have them really close together, you can pull them out. These are by no means like for real sugar roses, but it's super easy and you get a really pretty little rose in the end. Rolling out some white fondant, and I made myself a little tiny template of Hello Kitty's head, and I'm cutting out a bunch of those and then just putting them aside to dry with my roses and my bows. For the rest of my decorations, I'm just rolling out all the different shades of fondant that I have and then cutting out some flowers and some hearts and some stars. And then for most of the flowers, I put them on my foam pad, and just like with my rose petals, I just thinned out the edges a bit just to give them a little more texture. So once I was done cutting everything out, this is what I had. I also used some silver and pearl dragées as well. I used a combination of shortening and water to add my decorations to the front, and I just swept them up one side and then swept them up the other side, adding them in no particular order, just whatever looks good, making sure that I kind of scatter out the Hello Kitty faces. When I was happy with it, it looked something like this. And then to finish off the Hello Kitty faces, I added a little ball of yellow fondant for the nose, and then using some black food coloring gel and my fine tip paintbrush, I added in the eyes and the whiskers, and then just like the Hello Kitty face made before, but with a very small version of the bow, I added some pink for that. I wasn't too concerned with Hello Kitty's body because most of it is going to be covered, so I just added this teardrop shape of pink fondant into the middle of my basket, and then I added her head on top of that. If you find that it's not staying in place, you can always add a skewer, and then I just added 2 little white balls for her hands that were kind of draping over the basket. And then to finish off the balloon, you can do whatever you want to the top of it. I have these pieces of white fondant that I kind of folded together, and then I just draped them all around the balloon, and where they attach together, I just added a couple little hearts. And this was the final result, guys. I've been wanting to do like a hot air balloon theme for a really long time, so I love this idea. I think it turned out really cute. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for new videos every week. I will see you in the next one.